Meanwhile, Nick, I know tomorrow, as you know, marks 2 years since those horrific Hamas attacks, and Israel and your team have been working on stories to mark the week. Tell us about those.
Yeah, as you know, Amna, October the 7th is really a day before and a day after for the Middle East when history split. And we wanted to do a series of stories from the region. A new poll finds that 2/3 of Israelis now say the time has come to end the war in Gaza. That's the highest number since the beginning of the war. 27%, you see that in red down there, say it's not time to end the war. And that divide in Israeli society is reflected inside Israel's military, where some reservists say the war must be fought and won, and others are refusing to serve. Above Israel's largest port, the words on the hostage poster declare, "We'll bring them back, and we will rise." But Israeli military reserve Captain Ron Feiner believes the war in Gaza is leading the country astray.
After I understood that this government is not going to listen to the voice of most of the people in Israel, and they are willing to keep the war going forever, I decided that I just can't show up.
Since October the 7th, Feiner led Israeli infantry units on 3 deployments, including into Lebanon. But when he was called up a 4th time, he refused, and with 400 other soldiers, signed a petition that declared the war in Gaza is a death sentence for our kidnapped brothers and sisters, and for Feiner, a possible death sentence for his men.
I decided to refuse only after I understood there is no other way to stop this war and also help them, like my soldiers under my command that we used to fight together in Lebanon. I really care for them, and I also want to save their lives. And I actually realized that to save their lives, we have to stop the war.
In Israel's multiple wars since October the 7th, about half of the troops have been reservists, who traditionally hold territory after it's captured by active duty troops. The price that reservists have paid in Israel's longest war has been heavy, and that has led to a no-show rate reported by Israeli media of more than 40%.
There is a huge amount of people in Israel that are not willing to show up anymore.
For his refusal, Feiner went to prison. Released only because Israel went to war with Iran.
I'm ready to go to prison again. I think this is a price that is okay to pay for this kind of goal, which is for me so important and so urgent.
I have seen what's happening on the ground, and I understand that right now what we are doing is not anymore helping to bringing back the hostages.
Rafael Beash is a master sergeant in the reserves and a tank gunner who until August fought on Gaza's front line. He's been called up 3 times for a total of 300 days, deployed to both Gaza and Lebanon. And he, too, signed a petition demanding the government make a deal.
I was very tired of not being listened by the government, to do the job, to sacrifice everything and not feeling that the government really care about us.
Beash lives in Beersheba, about 25 miles from Gaza, and considers himself a strategist. He says that Israel is fighting a guerrilla war against Hamas and cannot accomplish militarily its dual goals of defeating Hamas and saving the hostages. He also warns Israel is facing a social crisis, tearing at the very fabric of Israeli society.
In my company only, and I know it's in other places in the army, 1/3 of the people who were married got divorced during the war.
And yet, he is a proud Israeli immigrant whose family moved here from France. He expects to be called up again soon and has decided, despite reservations, he will still serve.
We can try our best as civilians, like I'm doing with you, like I'm doing in everywhere in Israel, trying to push for this operation not to happen and to bring back the hostages in another way and to get out of Gaza. But when the army give an order, I think the role of a soldier is to listen.
Some experiences, they just change you.
This 22-year-old reservist is an intelligence officer. She spoke to our producer, Carl Bostic, and asked we keep her anonymous. After October the 7th, she volunteered for the reserves and has since served 420 days.
I think it's important that we have a strong army. But in this situation, where the government wants this war to go on forever, I have a responsibility to use every power I have to stop this war. The government will see it and will say, the reservists aren't joining. I'm sorry that I cursed.
And if they call you up, what will you do?
I will do whatever I can to not go. If we continue, it will go on forever.
She also calls the scale of Gaza's destruction unacceptable.
There is a lot of suffering in this world, but this is not far away. This is not in some other land which I can choose whether to care about it or not. What's happening in Gaza, my country is doing it. I care deeply, and a lot of people I know care deeply. And we are not ignorant to it, and we are not cold to it, and we care.
And she cares for her fellow soldiers. She says the war has distorted Israel's natural rhythm of life and death, and that young people especially have had to accept the pain of loss.
I'm 22, I've been to 3 funerals this last 2 years. And people my age dying, and people I know, it's just a part of life at this point, and it's not something we can accept. The fight for a better future, for peace, for equality, will continue after this war, and if I have to fight it for the rest of my life, I will.
But Israel's government and other reservists believe the fight that is necessary is the one to defeat Hamas.
For me, I don't think it's a question, it's obligation to serve my country.
In the last 2 years, 23-year-old Michael Lapin has deployed 5 times for a total of more than 300 days. Like all Israelis, he was touched by terror. His grandmother lived in Nahal Oz, overrun by Hamas on October the 7th. He believes the Israeli military and the cause for which it fights is moral.
We're talking about a strip, a very small area, with a lot of tunnels, with a lot of population, and we're trying the best to taking care of the civilians, but both make sure Hamas is not gonna rule ever again.
He, too, is also learning to live with the pain of loss. But he has no doubt if he's called up for a 6th time, what choice he'll make.
As a brigade, we lost 8 soldiers at 10 days. I lost my captain. That's some things that never leaves you. I will go and I will serve until I'm not needed anymore.
Lapin's day job is at a Tel Aviv sports and live music bar that's a favorite for foreigners, Mike's Place, right next to the beach. And between pours, he acknowledges how the war has divided Israel and its reservists.
What can I get you?
He refuses to judge anyone who refuses military duty.
I think everyone suffered a lot since the beginning of the war, and if some people say enough for them is enough, so I respect that. And I thank them for their service. Nobody likes wars. Wars is not a good thing, but at the end of the day, we want to end of Hamas, and we want to live in peace without any wars.
And that is perhaps where Israel is unified, saving hostages, hoping to recover from the war's damage, and ensuring the war never happens again. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.